Hi, I'm Harry Hertzberg, CEO of Alerty. Alerty makes understanding and participating in lectures easier for the students and easier for the teachers to help students understand lectures. The first product we will be demonstrating is Alerty Live, a transcription service helping students to understand important moments in the lecture.
Hi, I'm Artie, and I made this. This is the Alerty Live student app. You can see we have a transcript rolling in here. Currently, that's just a sample, but in the real version, that will be whatever the teacher is currently saying. You can see these sections highlighted in blue. Well, just one section at the moment. And bold, that is an emphasized section. That means this part is important. Pay attention to it. There are a few ways to indicate that. The teacher can just press a big button on their phone that's recording the audio, or if they don't want to bother with that, our service can pick up on what ought to be important based on the teacher's tone of voice and whether what they're saying sounds like something that's likely to be important based on data from previous lectures. When an emphasized section starts, the students' phones will vibrate in order to draw their attention. Now, this is meant to help students with ADHD and autism pay attention to the material when it's important. And I will say vibration sounds pretty simple, but as someone who has both autism and ADHD, it works. When I was testing this app, whenever my phone would buzz, I would look and I would see, oh, it's that part of the lecture. And this would get my attention even if I was trying to track down a bug or trying to make improvements to the UI. And so if that can distract me from my work, I think it can help students stop being distracted from their work. Now, that's all the features that we currently have for the Alerty Live student app, but there's a lot more that I'm excited to work on going forward. Firstly, I want to improve how questions are asked and answered in classes, because the old system of raise your hand, the teacher calls on you, works, but it has a lot of flaws that I've noticed firsthand as a student. And the first of those is that the teacher does not know what that raised hand means. They don't know if that's, I have no idea what's going on, please help me. If that's, okay, I get that, but what about this more complicated situation? Or if it's just, I thought of a good pun. I've done that one a few times. And so the teacher doesn't really know what order to take those questions in. Maybe that question about a more advanced situation doesn't help the student who didn't even get the basic one, because they didn't have that explanation when they were hearing it. So another thing that isn't always ideal about how questions are currently asked and answered is that whenever you ask a question, it interrupts the whole class. And also everyone knows that you're asking that question. I've had teachers tell me at the start of a course, don't be shy to ask questions. If you're wondering something, there are probably 10 other people with the exact same question. And I think those reasons might be why, is that students don't want to interrupt the class and they don't want to look like they don't know what's going on in front of their peers. And we'll be able to help with both of those things. With Alerty Live, you can ask a question by highlighting a section of, you ask a question by highlighting a section of text in the app. And that means not only does the teacher know what your question is about, which helps with the first point, but when you highlight it, you can choose to type in your question rather than asking it out loud when called on. And that means that that question can be asked entirely anonymously. Only the teacher can see your name, and you could even configure it so that the teacher doesn't see the names until after class. And in addition, because it was typed, at minimum, that time where you're typing is not interrupting the class. The teacher can be talking as you type. But beyond that, the teacher can read the question and decide, does this seem like something that other people are going to be confused about? Should I answer, should I address it now or should I address it later? And if they address it later, that will be visible through the app and online through some more things called, that will be visible through the app and online through some other products we've been working on called Alerty API and Alerty Sites. Harry, would you like to talk about the big picture of what Alerty has been built?
Sure. Alerty Sites is a more interactive way of learning online. It allows for students to ask context-based questions and for teachers to determine important moments in their own lectures. Our two products, Alerty Live and Alerty Sites, aren't just about, hey, we made some cool features to make learning easier. It's, we just figured out a way to automate a huge number of disability accommodations, both cheaper and more effectively. And we also make learning better for everyone. Artie, want to explain the accommodations that we provide?
I'd love to. So there's a lot that we can already do with just Alerty Live from what you've already seen. That transcript is effectively like closed captioning, but better. So that will allow students who are deaf or hard of hearing to follow a lecture being delivered out loud. Additionally, for hard of hearing students in particular, we can take the audio that's being used to generate that transcript and play it directly into their headphones so they get a louder and clearer signal than what they would hear in the room otherwise. In addition, we can take that transcript and translate it into other languages with only a delay of a few seconds. So students can follow along in any language. Now, that's what we can do during class, but another common accommodation for ADHD and autism is for students to have a note taker who takes class notes for them, and we can do that too. The emphasis highlighting that we do, and more advanced versions of it that we can do when we don't have to keep up in real time, can be used to generate class notes. And that will be viewable through Alerty Sites. Jade, would you like to talk more about that?
I would love to. I'm Jade Zaslavsky, the CTO of Alerty. And this is Alerty Sites. Alerty Sites is a tool for making a website for your class, something similar to Squarespace or Wix, except more optimized for education. But the real good thing about it is that it's comes packaged out of the box with the tools for the Alerty API. That is, you can just take a site. You could even take the default example site that we have here, and it will just already have the features that the Alerty API offers. Those being automated emphasis annotation. It will predict what sorts of things correlate with things that show up in notes, and things with a high enough probability or high enough influence on notes show up highlighted in blue, and the relevant section of video is also highlighted in blue. So if you want to get just the important parts, just watch that, I suppose. Additionally, it finds the transition points, the places between topics, that are a good place to stop, take a break, maybe review this blue area over here, and before moving on. So having those let students both know when they can take a break and breaks the video up into more manageable chunks. Additionally, it comes prepackaged with a system for managing questions. Not only does it have the same feature of students can highlight things to ask questions or comments as Alerty Live, but teachers can make questions visible to other students and respond to them, or even let other students respond to them if they trust their classroom enough. And if there's a lot of questions on the same topic in the same part of the video, those questions will be aggregated into one larger question that can, or a few larger questions that contain the meaning of the first ones, although of course the teacher could look at the individual ones as well if they so chose. Now, one of the more exciting things about the Alerty API is that being freed from the constraints of having to keep up with the lecture in real time, it can do really neat things like just take out the parts of the transcript that aren't that are low importance, low correlation with showing up in people's notes. So you could reduce, if you want, you could reduce it by 90%, keep only the most important 10%, just have a few flashcards to review. Or if you wanted to, you could just review it by 50% and have a summary. You could reduce it by only 10% and just have a version of the lecture that is just, it loses the asides and irrelevant stuff, and so on and so forth. So a teacher can just upload their live recording that might have a black video if they didn't feel like setting up a camera, or they can upload a video and use this for like asynchronous learning or remote learning, or use it as a flipped classroom. And I think that's all I have. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
All right, my turn. Thank you for taking the time to see our project and for helping us help you to help others. Have a good one.
And if you choose to use Alerty products, we look forward to working with you.
Thanks for your time.